In this video, we're going to talk about how to deal with suicide when someone does it in your network. And my guest Hannah is going to join as well with some insight that she's come across. When it comes to dealing with suicide, there's so many things that you can do. One of them is like when it happens in your network, you really want to take the time to not kind of place the blame on yourself, because oftentimes when someone commits suicide in our network, we have no clue that it was actually going to happen. They were maybe very closed off, and the signs perhaps we just did not pick up. And when we kind of blame ourselves for it per se, it's just going to make us more stressed in the long run. Hannah, like when someone committed suicide in your network, like how did that impact you overall?
So it was my sophomore year of high school, and my mom committed suicide. So it was like the day after Valentine's Day. I had went to her apartment to give her a Valentine's Day gift with my father, and I knocked on her apartment door and there was no answer. So like just complete and utter shock when I got home like that night. I remember my family all coming to my house, and I just remember that entire week I was crying just nonstop, like not knowing what to do, like how to come out of it, you know? So I definitely started with a lot of anger. Anger was the biggest thing for me for the first like 6 months. I would notice from my Aunt Megan, who lives in Colorado. She flew in the next morning, and she's like my biggest supporter, like my best friend. And she noticed I was lashing out at her and taking a lot of anger out on her. And after that point, I needed to get out from wherever I was. Like, I know for a fact my mom wouldn't want me to go down from after that happened.
That's very true, and it's very hard too to kind of keep yourself calm when something like that happens.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, like emotions you experienced was pretty much a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And it's very great that you had a good support system too, that they were there and trying to help you.
Yes.
Because most people, they kind of try and pull away and kind of keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
And it kind of affects their mental health much more.
It does, because I did notice I was doing that. Like I was pulling away from everybody who was trying to be there. And they were just trying to help me. And I just didn't want to have help. Like I just wanted to be alone and like cry. And I noticed I did that, and I needed a shoulder to cry on, basically. Like that's all I needed, and my family was there for me.
That's great. And if people do not feel, I guess, comfortable talking to their family per se, there is things called emotional support lines. If you search it on Google, they'll show you some places in the area, and the people there, they're pretty much just an ear, and they'll kind of hear what you have to say.
Yeah, somebody to listen to what you have to say. Like it's definitely nice. Like I specifically need to talk to somebody about my problems. Like my aunt, my dad, my brother, like we all went through it together. So all of us talking about it and like relieving some emotions, it just helps. Any sort of form of talking about it helps 100%. Like it feels like a weight's been lifted off your shoulder when you express those feelings about how you're feeling. If you had a bad day, if I had a bad day, I call my aunt and I'm like, wow, my day was like horrible. And it just helps, you know?
That's great that you have that, because usually when suicide happens in network, it's just very awkward and everyone tries to almost avoid the subject quite frequently. And also in the environment, people act much differently. They'll maybe be more almost maybe passive towards you, quiet, and they're afraid they might kind of get on your nerves.
Right.
Did you experience a lot of that when it happened to you in your network?
When you commit suicide, you're like, you have no strength. Like, and my mom was the most powerful woman I've ever met. Like, she was just going through stuff, like pain, like she was gonna have neck surgery, like she was just depression. It was, it just spiraled down from there. And people getting on my nerves was like, I guess it wasn't that big of an issue, because once I realized the people that were there for me, it just kind of clicked, and I was like, I need them, you know? Like, what would I be doing right now if I didn't have the people who I love around me?
That's very true. It'd be very hard. And like the extent of the grieving process, usually it takes like a long time. Like some people years, months. It's very ridiculous. Was it very hard for you going through the grieving process?
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, I'm going through it. Like, it's not ever, people say like, oh, it's gonna get easier, it's gonna be fine. For me, like, I don't live by that. Any holiday, like her birthday, my birthday, it's hard. And then any day of the year, any day of the month, any day of the week, it's the same thing. Like, I grieve. Like, I still to this day, I don't know how to grieve. A lot of people say they're fine, like my brother. He says he's fine all the time, but I know deep down inside, like, he needs to talk. He needs to let emotions out. That's how I am. We're brother and sister. Like, we should grieve together and be there for one another.
That's great. And people, like, they should not feel ashamed if their grieving process lasts much longer than other people as well.
Right. My Aunt Megan, she is down to earth, and she takes the time to be okay. Like, if she's having a bad day, she like ends the night with like a bath, or like does something to calm her nerves, you know? For me, like, I've learned from her how to grieve a little bit and how not to hold it in. Like, you need to let it out, and you need to find those hobbies that are gonna get you through it. Like, for me, I started exercising, eating healthier, bettering myself. I just didn't want to see myself go down the road that some people take.
That's great, because as you're taking care of yourself, it's going to increase your confidence. You're going to feel more motivated to do even more things. But if you were to do the opposite, life might have been a bit more trickier.
I definitely would have been like depressed emotionally, and like physically. Like, I saw myself going down that route, like, that year it happened, and I just needed to change my lifestyle. Like, my mom wouldn't want me to be sitting here not doing anything about it, you know?
You almost used her as a source of energy, what happened.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. Like, I wish I didn't have to do that. Like, I wish she was here being with me and cheering me on along the way. And when I played volleyball, not having her at my games took a toll on me, because I was the captain and I needed to be there for my teammates. And it was definitely a challenge, because I wasn't even there for myself. Like, I was falling off. Like, I needed to pick myself up in order to better the team. And I feel like I kind of let down the girls that year. But for sure, I had to pick myself up. And
I like how you mentioned the triggers in the environment, because your mom used to go to your volleyball games and stuff like that. And like, that's one thing to expect when someone dies from suicide. There's going to be all these triggers that are going to show up, and you're going to feel all these emotions all over again.
Yes, because like triggers, like, I get them all the time. Like, one thing happens in class, or like I see a song comes on the radio, I get like a flashback, like anything like that, like, I'll just cry. Like, and like, I'm not ashamed of it. Like, I need to do what I need to do to get through my day, and that's all you can do, pretty much.
That's for sure. Wow, Hannah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We definitely discussed a lot of great things that I think people might utilize when someone commits suicide in their network.
Yeah, they definitely you just got to pick yourself up. Like, that's all you got to do.
Very true. This was the end of the video. I hope you guys found a lot of value from it. Hannah and I tried to discuss a lot of great things that can help you when someone dies by suicide in your network. I create a lot of videos along these lines. A few of them are going to pop up on the screen. You guys should definitely check them out, because I just push a lot of great content that you might find very valuable. I'll catch you guys in the next video.